in our AT&T studio, Scott Danick, a certified financial planner at Equanimity Wealth Management. Thanks for being here this morning. I sure hope you and I are talking tomorrow morning, and Nikolai Luke is on the other end of our AT&T line. He's with Simplified Tax and Accounting. Good morning, Nikolai.
Good morning, Michael Patrick and Scott.
Hi, Nikolai.
So the first person I call tonight when I win, because I'll have you both on speed dial, do you call the CPA first? Do you call the financial advisor first? What's the first step? I'll ask you, Scott.
Well, I think the first step is, even before you call anyone, is to do a little bit of soul searching. It's a fantasy to have every day a Saturday, but it's one thing to work because you have to. It's another thing to work because you want to. So I'd spend some time trying to get a handle on what it is I want to do with the rest of my life now that I think I might have. And
I've already been planning that part.
You have?
Oh, yeah, I'm already.
I heard you were going to give us all money when we called in on last Monday. So
yeah, and it didn't work out. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was ready to share it all.
Yeah, I'd probably call Nikolai because he might be able to provide some idea of some things you might not even know you had, because that kind of money creates tax issues. It also creates estate planning issues, so you'd want to have an estate planning attorney. And then, of course, you're going to want a fee-based, preferably a certified financial planner to help with that stuff, too.
So let's live it out. It's you two. We're in a meeting together, and I'm like, okay, you guys are the dream team. I'm sitting here. I have a check for $568 million. Who speaks first, and what are the questions that need to be addressed? Let's pretend I've done it. I've done it, fellas. I'm sober still, too, so let's get this straight.
Before the champagne. I think for the first plan would be to find out how much cash is available for you to use. And I think that's where the taxes would come in. And then once you know what's available for you, that's where Scott would come in and help you manage the dollars after the fact. And I think the first question they always ask is, do you want to take the cash option?
Yeah, I want to, right? Would you
I
advise
think most
that?
of the time they say that's the way to go.
Scott says yes.
Because of the annuity stretch.
So you cut it in half then. You're down to, say, $260 million.
And then, unfortunately, I'm going to cut it in about another half. Probably about 45% will go to taxes. So you'll be left with about 55% of the 50% that you had before the cash option.
Well, shoot. That's not going to change my life.
He's going to go buy a candy bar now that he knows it's only $130 million.
So there you are now with 130 because Nikolai has appointed it all where it properly goes. What's the next question? What's the next thing to deal with?
Well, and then I think we get back to what do you want to do? And another thing I was going to suggest is we all know people, family members, friends that are in need of help. And when you have that kind of money, obviously, you're probably going to want to help. But I'd make a short list of those folks that I thought of who needed help, because you're going to have just 101 people come out of the woodwork that are sort of quote unquote friends that aren't really, and they just know you've got that kind of money, so therefore you ought to help. And we've seen, the statistics are scary with how many of those folks that win the lottery and they're in no better position 2-3 years later. So it would give you the ability to say no because you knew you were going to help some people, but you can't help everyone. Even though $130 million sounds like money that you cannot ever get through, you help too many people in the wrong reasons, and you will.
How much would you have to put away in order to never have to sort of work again, where you could just live off the interest?
Well, it really depends on the person, because, I have some folks that, they're scrimped and they've saved, and between them, they've probably never made more than $60,000, $70,000 a year. Those folks probably only need $30,000, $40,000 a year to be just happy as clams the rest of their lives. And then I have other clients that they spend $200,000, $300,000 a year easy. And, I know there's folks listening or watching that say, I don't know how in the world you could ever spend that kind of money, but it just depends on how much money you make and what your lifestyle is, what you like to do, where you like to do it, where you live. Cost of living is much higher in certain places than others. So I hate to give you depends answer, but it really does. And then you work the numbers backwards.
It's certainly possible, though, to do that, no matter what your number is.
I would think
live off the interest?
Yeah, I would think if you had $130 million, you'd have to try real hard not to be just fine.
And Nikolai, wouldn't it be smart when you talk about helping someone like your children to create, what do they call that, an annuity, where every year they get a certain amount instead of giving them all a big lump sum at once? Would that be the smart thing to do?
I think, age has a lot to do with that. Age and maturity of your children. I see that a lot and Scott mentioned your estate plan, and I think that would be the next step you would take, is to decide, if something did happen to you, who do you want to get this money and how quickly? And so a lot of my clients will set up trusts that will trickle the money out to the individuals based on their age. And when they reach 20, they get so much. When they reach 25, they get so much.
Because naturally they're going to need more as they get older. Simplified Tax and Accounting, Nikolai Luke, call him. And call Equanimity Wealth Management. Call Scott Danick tomorrow when you, like me, are going to be rich.